It's getting really hot outside and it's happening very quickly. But the atrociously hot, humid, sticky weather is on its way. I am gardening in Florida, zone 9A, and today is May 1st. So technically still spring, but it feels like summer. Not everything thrives here in the summertime. So what I'm sharing with you today are some of the things that I'll be growing here in the heat of the summer. And the first one I want to talk about is one of my absolute favorites to grow, and that is Roselle. It's in the hibiscus family and native to West Africa, in the tropical regions of West Africa, and it does really well in tropical and subtropical climates. While most other crops are struggling or bolting or just plain dead, Roselle is absolutely thriving. It loves our heat, our humidity, the monsoons that we get in the summertime. Now with Roselle, what you're actually harvesting are the calyxes or calyces, and the flavor is similar to cranberry with slight citrus undertones. In our previous house, I had two plants going and they grow like in a bush form and very large. And I was able to harvest so much from these two plants month after month after month, all the way through early winter. I had so much of it, I was able to make Roselle juice, Roselle tea, jams. I even made a pie. So basically anything that you would use cranberry for, you can use Roselle for. It's a nice substitute, but in my opinion, it has such a better flavor. You can direct sow them in the ground. They will do wonderful right now in May, or you can start them in little seed starting trays and then transplant them outside. Another crop that I'm growing this season are sweet potatoes. I have grown them successfully different ways. So when I first grew them, I did it the easy, lazy way. And let me tell you, it was absolutely successful. I was able to harvest pounds of sweet potatoes from one small grow bag. And all I did was literally plop a sweet potato in the soil and I let it grow and do its own thing. Now, could I have gotten more sweet potatoes had I grown slips first? Yes. But as a beginner, this was perfect for me. And I am the only one in my little family that actually eats sweet potatoes. So at the time, it was perfect. This time, I'm going to grow them from slips. And I did a little video a couple years back showing how you can actually eat the leaves of these sweet potatoes. Now, the mature leaves are going to be a little bit more fibrous. So those are really good in stews and soups. But the younger leaves, you can actually eat them like spinach. I sauteed mine and added it to my eggs one morning. I also broke them up and ate them fresh in a salad. So younger leaves, if you want to eat them fresh or as a spinach substitute, and then the older mature leaves can be cooked down in soups and stews. For this next crop, I'm going to bring you over to our banana pit or banana circle. The cardboard you see here is just in the process of breaking down. It's actually covering some food scraps and grass clippings. But really what I want to show you are these Thai soldier long beans. So beans also thrive out here. Really depends on which beans. So I'm actually referring to green beans, yard beans, long beans, cowpeas. Along the edge of our banana circle are Thai soldier long beans. These don't seem to have any pest issues. They love the heat and the humidity. They absolutely thrive in our summertime. So this is a really great option if you're interested in growing beans. This is a bush form type of bean, but there are also vining beans that you can use a trellis to support them growing up vertically. You can direct sow them right now in May. I actually direct sowed mine early April, but again, it's not too late to start right now. The next few crops I'm going to share with you are perennials. Now, I've incorporated perennials into my food garden because they are lower maintenance and will provide food for many years. And since we're still right here in our banana pit, the first one I'm going to show you is our papaya. Now, papayas can be easily grown from seed. If you go to the grocery store, grab yourself a papaya and open that up, grab the seeds, and just plant them fresh, just as they are in some soil. Cover them up lightly and keep them watered. You will get many sprouting up within days. It is very easy to grow. But one important note about trying to start papaya from seed is that you're going to get a mix of male and female papaya plants. And I'm sure you can guess right away that the male papayas will not produce fruit. You need a female to produce fruit. However, the female can't produce fruit without the male papaya nearby or pollen from one of the male flowers. So if you don't mind growing multiple papayas and then determining the sex later on once they start flowering, go for it. But if you're only interested in growing one, your best bet is to head on over to your local nursery that sells papaya plants and grab yourself a hermaphrodite, which is technically a self-fertile variety. The one that I have is a dwarf red lady papaya, and it doesn't need a male papaya plant or flowers from the male papaya to produce fruit. It will set fruit on its own. So that's your best bet if you have a smaller space or not really interested in experimenting or growing multiple papaya plants. We are still here in our banana circle. So the next perennial that I want to talk about is taro, which also goes by elephant ear. I have about 4 of them started right now. I'm still waiting on one of them to sprout up. But like other tropical root crops, such as yautía, malanga, ube, cassava, or yuca, they also love heat and humidity, so they're going to produce abundant harvests with very little fuss once they are established. For our next ones, we certainly need to talk about the bananas and plantains. So what I have back here is a sweetheart banana, and this one here is actually a dwarf Puerto Rican plantain. Both of these will absolutely thrive out here. These are tropical plants and they do very well in subtropical and even hot climates. But another one that you definitely can add to your garden if you're interested in growing fruits. This next one I'm going to share with you isn't one that you're going to be harvesting on a consistent basis, but it is definitely a must-have, in my opinion, in any hot climate food garden, subtropical or tropical food garden. And what I'm talking about is sugarcane. I have one right here. That one's a green variety. I have a red one here and another green one over here. The green ones are a lot better for juicing because they have a thicker, fibrous, harder stalk, but the red ones are really good for chewing because it's a lot softer and juicier and sweeter. Another perennial that does really well out here in the intense summer months is moringa. And the hotter it is, the faster it will grow. It is a very fast growing, prolific tree and very nutritious for you. Pretty much everything on it is edible. The leaves, the stems, the seeds. You can harvest the leaves, you can dry them, add them to your smoothies, or just cook with them. Add a little bit of younger leaves to salads. Eat them fresh, and it makes for a very great chop and drop. You're going to want to cut this down to a few feet tall every year once it starts going dormant in the winter time in order to manage its growth, because it's not ideal to climb up on a ladder to try harvesting the leaves once it's 10, 15 plus feet tall. Now, the older, more established leaves have a spicy kick to them, almost like nasturtium leaves if you've ever tried those. But the younger leaves on top have a much more mild, nutty flavor to them. So these are really good to eat fresh. Now, you can also start moringa from seed. It might take several seeds and maybe a couple of weeks before you start seeing some germination going on. And like I said, they do grow very quickly once they've germinated. But if you don't want to wait, you can always head on over to your local nursery or check online to see who is selling already established seedlings or young trees. Now, depending on where you live and how mild your winters are, this next one can technically act as a perennial. Otherwise, just consider it an annual. And what I'm talking about is Seminole pumpkin. And the main stalk is here. As it sprawls out, it will keep rooting itself. If it touches the ground, it's going to send down roots. And that's why it does really good out here, because if this part here gets damaged, this part here, since it has roots already in ground, it will still thrive. So Seminole pumpkin is certainly adapted to Florida climate and really hot subtropical or tropical climates. It may look like it's a little stressed out when the intense summer heat kicks in, but it will still survive and provide you with very, very, very many fruits in the late fall. You can start these right now. It is definitely not too late, but it's much better to direct sow them in the ground rather than starting them in pots and then transplanting them outside. I actually did that and it really is not necessary. It's actually better to just direct sow. Another perennial that will do really good out here is the mulberry. There are many varieties and some of them will produce more fruit throughout the year than others, especially your dwarf everbearing mulberries. But you can get other interesting varieties. There's white mulberry, Pakistani, Himalayan. This one here is a Himalayan mulberry and the berries are a lot longer and larger than your standard everbearing mulberry. They are a little sweeter as well. But these will all produce pounds of berries every year, and they definitely take to our climate very well. The one you see here is still waking up from its dormancy over the winter time. Some of the older leaves are a little hurt, but as you can see, these nodes are sprouting new growth, and this will just end up exploding here in our summer heat and rains. They start producing fruit fairly young. So if you're interested in adding mulberry to your garden, go ahead and pick one up from your local nursery or online. You will definitely not regret it, especially if you love berries. Now, I'm not a betting woman, but if I were, I'd bet that these would become your favorite berry. This next one behind me here is an annual that loves our summer heat and humidity, and that is okra. Your standard green okra does wonderful out here. This one here is a red variety called bowling red okra, and you prepare them the same way you would your standard green ones. They grow very quickly. They have a long taproot. You can just direct sow them in ground and you can get very many harvests from these beautiful okra plants. The blooms are absolutely beautiful. It's a very gorgeous ornamental plant to have, even if you don't end up harvesting from it. Our next one is watermelon. Go ahead and get some watermelon seeds in the ground or in containers and start growing them today. It's not too late, and they'll do a lot better if you give them a trellis so that they can grow up rather than sprawl out along the ground. That's what I will be doing this year. But one important note about watermelon is if you're considering growing it this season, I would get them in the soil now in May, and I would go for the smaller varieties like your sugar baby watermelons, not the large all sweet watermelons or those 10+ pound watermelons, because the smaller ones will ripen faster for you before you run into colder weather or any issues in the winter time with them dying back before they actually ripen. Those larger ones are just going to take more months to ripen, and at this point it's not worth even trying. Now for this next annual, we're kind of pushing the limits here, but if you're daring and willing to try it out, go ahead and get yourself some pepper starts. Now it's too late in the season to try to start these from seeds, and I actually recommend hot peppers rather than your standard sweet peppers. Although some sweet peppers will still do really good out here, just try to get them started already because growing them from seed just takes a very long time. But with those that are already started, you'll still get several harvests before they slow down in the winter time. The hotter the pepper, the better it'll do in the hotter months. Now, this doesn't go for all varieties, but hot peppers like jalapeno peppers or even hot banana peppers, poblanos, habanero peppers, those actually did better for me in the summer months than the sweet peppers did. So if you don't mind experimenting, go ahead and get some starts. Just try it with the hot peppers rather than the sweet peppers. Here we have a jalapeno pepper. These are hot banana peppers. What you see here on this trellis, on both sides actually, are tomato plants. And these actually are going to be composted most likely in the summertime once they start stressing out big time. I don't recommend tomatoes at this point unless you go native or with varieties that thrive in this climate or your local climate. The ones that will end up doing well for me are the Everglades tomatoes. When all other tomato plants are stressed out or dying, the Everglades continues to produce. They are smaller tomatoes, but they make for wonderful snacking tomatoes. What we have back here is Luffa. Now, the Luffa gourds can be eaten if you pick them young while they're still green, like a summer squash zucchini substitute. Now, if you let them mature on the vine and just let it go, don't pick it, let it get brown and crispy, you can harvest it, and what you'll have is the actual sponge. You can use this sponge as a scrubber in your showers. You can use it to clean. You can give some away, make some DIY bath scrubs to gift to your friends and family in the holiday season. It's not too late to start these right now. Just place them directly in the ground where you plan on growing them, or you can grow them along a trellis like this. This is a 16-foot cattle panel. I'm letting mine grow up these pine trees because the two cattle panels that I have are taken up. Now I'll show you which flowers do very well out here in the summer and also go over some of their purposes. Sunflowers, pretty much any type of sunflower. It can be your mammoth sunflowers like this one. It's not too late to get these in ground. Look, I have a couple of them that are still newer that I placed seeds into the ground about 2 weeks ago, and this is what they're looking like now. So I have a line of short stuff sunflowers. That's just another variety. These will most likely grow to about 2, no more than 3 feet tall. And just like with the other sunflowers I showed you, you can go ahead and just stick them right in the ground. This is one that you may not want to start in pots. They do so much better if you just direct sow them in the ground because they do have that large taproot. And if you mess with the taproot at all, it's going to most likely stunt it significantly. It will not grow to its full potential. In the summertime, we're going to get tons of leaf-footed bugs, stink bugs, and they love to pierce their little beaks or whatever you want to call it into your peppers and tomatoes. And once they do that, it's going to ruin that crop. So when you have sunflowers near your tomatoes or peppers or any other crop that they tend to decimate, they're most likely going to gravitate toward the sunflower heads rather than the tomatoes, even though they love tomatoes and peppers. Why they prefer the sunflower heads, I don't know, but I'm okay with that because it makes for managing these pests so much easier. When they're all congregating on these sunflower heads, I can come out here with my bucket of soapy water and plop them right into it, or a handheld vacuum, and then place them into a bucket of soapy water. The marigolds that you see growing in front of my tomato plants also serve a purpose. They bring in the pollinators, but they also attract aphids and certain pests that would normally congregate on your food crops. But if there are marigolds around, they may pick the marigolds over your tomatoes. This is a Florida native called plumbago, and I have these scattered throughout our food garden. This is a rather younger plant. It will bush out a little bit more than what you're seeing here, and you can also propagate these. They will self-seed and multiply, but this brings in the pollinators and it does really well in our climate. This is another variety of plumbago, but this one here is not native to Florida. However, it does very well out here and it's not invasive. This here is a butterfly milkweed, just one of the several varieties that are native to Florida. Now, it's not native to just Florida, but it is still considered a native. This one's a rather young plant, and I do have a couple others on the property scattered throughout the garden. As the name implies, the butterflies absolutely love them. This is one of the host plants for the monarch butterfly. And of course, being a native, it does great out here. This here's a blanket flower and it's just beautiful. And the butterflies love it. And that's really all I have to say about that. I'm thankful that you are still with me, and I hope this list was helpful to you, maybe gave you some inspiration on what you can incorporate into your food gardens this summer. If you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. I really do appreciate your support, and I will see you on the next one.